Hello and welcome back to another cookie tech video. So today I'm going to be teaching you on how to make your very own automatic point promotion system. So before I teach you on how to make this system, I'm just going to show you how it works. So you can see here I'm loaded into my Roblox player, and you can see that I am the player rank, so keep that in mind. And now we're just going to head to the game I created, and I'm going to show you how it works. So I'm going to wait for it to load, then I'm going to go to the play button, and then once again I'm going to wait for it to load in. I'm going to wait until I have 60 points, and then I'll check in with you again. Okay, we are now coming up on 60 points. And now let's wait, and you can see we got a little notification in the bottom right there. And now let's just leave the game, head back to our Cookie Tech group, refresh the groups, and you can see we were automatically promoted to the moderator rank. Now let's try this again, but this time we're going to wait for 120 seconds instead of 60 seconds. So I'm just going to load into the game. So now we're going to wait again until I have 120 points. Okay, great, we are now closing in on 120 points, and then once we reach 120 points, I'll show you what's happening. Now we've reached the 120 point, we get another notification. Let's head back to our Roblox group, and let's see if we were promoted. So if we refresh back to the Cookie Tech group, you can see I've now been promoted to the admin rank. So now we're going to head over to Studio, and I'm going to show you what to do from there. Okay, so here we are inside of Roblox Studio, and to start off I'm going to go click on Blaze Plate. Now you should remember this is an extension to our previous tutorial of how to make a group rank bot. So if you want this to work, make sure that you follow that tutorial beforehand, otherwise this will not work at all. So make sure that you go to the video, it will be linked in the description down below, so just make sure, otherwise none of this will work and none of this will make sense. Also keep in mind that if you want to download the models that were used in this tutorial today, they'll be able to be downloaded in the description down below via our forms. So we're going to start off by collecting a bit of data. So you can remember that in our last tutorial we made our Heroku server, and we also made a GitHub with all of our configuration inside of it. So just to start off, I'm going to get these pulled up. Okay, so here we have our GitHub repository, and we have our Heroku server over here. And now to start off, we're going to get our API key. So to get our API key, we're going to go to the .env file, and you can remember that we put in our API key. So my API key will be different to yours, but I'm just using this one for today. And then I'm just going to copy it after the equals. I'm going to go back to Roblox Studio. I'm going to go back to my base plate. Then I'm going to go to my server script service. I'm going to add a script, and I'm going to call the script points promote. Now that I've done that, I'm going to paste in my API key by putting a comment. So I'm going to go --, and now I'm going to paste in my API key. Now we're going to head back to our browser. Now that we're back in our browser, this time we're going to head over to Heroku. Now that we're in Heroku, yours will look like this. We're going to head over to settings. We're going to scroll down, and you'll see we'll come to domains, and then you can see your app can be found at your blah 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 blah. Your link of course will be different to mine, so click on the link. On the end of this link you're going to type group, make sure to put a slash, and then /rank. So that's your link, /group, /rank, and no slash on the end. Now let's copy this, and then we're going to now go back to our Studio instance, and then we're going to put down our link here. Now to start off, this script does work on a leaderboard, so make sure that you already have a leaderboard created, otherwise it won't work. I'm just going to make a dummy leaderboard, but make sure that you have a working leaderboard before you follow this tutorial. So I'm just going to make a little testing leaderboard, but of course make sure you follow an in-depth tutorial before you try making a leaderboard, just so you understand what's going on here. So for this part of the script, I won't explain it, but keep in mind that it will come in handy when following this tutorial. Okay, so now that I've got this little script down, keep in mind your leaderboard may be a bit different to mine. You may be measuring points or money or cash, but I'm just personally going with points. So I'm just going to copy the string over, just so I remember that I've been using points. Now we're going to start off by creating our Explorer and making our Explorer all nice and neat. So we have our scripts in server script service that are all named and nicely labeled. But first of all, we're going to go to replicated storage. We're going to click the plus button. We're going to click remote event, make sure it's not a remote function or anything like that. And then we're going to call this player promotion success. Great. Now that we've done that, we're going to go into started UI. We're going to create a new local script. And then we're just going to call this notification handler. So this is actually the first thing we can do. So in fact, let's start off in the notification handler. So we want it that when the player promotion success remote event is fired, we want the script to run, showing that a notification has popped up. Because if the notification doesn't show up, the player doesn't know if they're being promoted. So let's make sure that they do. So we're going to say game.replicatorstorage.player promotion success. So just the remote event we created. .onClient event. So when that remote function actually is fired, we're going to run a function and we're going to say game.startedUI set core. Now this script allows you to perform certain interactions within this core script, so we're just going to put set core, and now we're going to say send notification just like me. And then we're going to make a new table and we're going to define a few things. So here what we're doing is we're detecting when the remote event is fired, and then we're going to send a notification via the set core script. So now we're going to define a few parameters. So we're going to say title equal promotion. You can set this difference to me. You can say level up, new rank achieved, anything you like. And then I'm going to put a comma. I'm going to put text equals you have earned enough points to get promoted. And then once I've done that, I'm just going to add a duration for 5 seconds. Make sure after this you leave a comma after each one except the last one, because that doesn't matter. And now what we're saying here is we're setting the title of the notification, we're setting the description or the text of the notification, and we're setting for how long the notification will show in seconds, and I'm setting that to 5 seconds. So you know that when a remote event is received, we need to fire it so that it can actually be received. And now all we need to do is handle it inside of our points purchase script inside of server script service. So we can now close this script since it's all done. And now we're going to first of all define a few variables. So we're going to say local HTTP service, so this will allow us to interact with our web server. We're going to say game get service HTTP service, and now remember how we defined our API key, app URL, and all of that other stuff earlier on. We're going to drop a few lines and we're going to say local API key equals, and then now we remember we put our API key here, so I'm just going to copy it, I'm going to delete that, drop a line, and I'm going to paste in the local API key. So now that we've got our API key defined, remember we need to call our web server, and to do that we need to call our URL. So we're going to say local app URL equals, and now we're going to copy the URL from above here. We're going to drop a line, and then we're going to make a string, and then we're going to paste our link inside. Now we need to define our remote event so we can fire that. Then we're going to say local player promotion success. So we're just going to call the variable that, and we're going to say the path to game.replicator.storage wait for child. So this means that if it doesn't load in, there'll be a certain amount of timeout, just so that it doesn't yield. And then we're going to say player promotion success. So now we are inside of our player promotion success, so we won't always have to say game.replicator.storage.player promotion success, which will make our script just look a bit nicer. Now we're going to drop 2 lines here, and then we're going to say local group ID equals, and now it's time to get our group ID. So to get our group ID, we need to go to roblox.com. Now once we've gone to roblox.com, we're going to click this sandwich bar, and then we're going to go to our groups. So now that we've done that, we are at our group and we can achieve our group ID. So to get our group ID, we need to go up to the URL above, and then we need to copy the number in between groups and then your group name. So I'm going to double click on the number, I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy. Now we're going to head back to my script, and then I'm just going to paste in local group ID, just like this. And now we have to find our group ID. Next of all, we want to make a table that will display which rank will be received when you get a certain amount of points. So this may sound a bit complicated, but just follow along and I think you'll get the concept. So let's drop another line, and then let's say local points required, and then equal, and then let's open a table. And now we're going to say, let's say 2, and then we're going to say equals 60, and then put a comma. So you may have no idea what this means, and that's absolutely fine, but I'm just going to explain it to you now. So if we head back to our browser, click on configure group, you can see if we go to members, or actually if we go to roles, you can see we have different roles with different rank IDs, or rank numbers, or whatever you want to call them. And you can see for each different role there's a number where it says rank 0 to 25. You can see there's one below, and we can copy those all. So let's say we want, when someone gets 60 points, we want to promote them to a moderator. So we're going to copy the ID for moderator. We're going to close this. So in here we're going to put 2, so that means if they get 60 points, which we've put here, we're going to make them rank 2. Now, let's say we want to get our admin to be promoted, or our moderator to be promoted to admin when they have 120 points. So we're going to copy this 3, and then we're going to say square brackets 3. So if they get X amounts of points, they'll be promoted to 3, and then we're going to say equals, and then 120. So they will need 120 points to get to rank 3. And you can customize this table to your liking. You can have as many lines as you want, it's all up to you, and nobody's stopping you there. Next of all, we need to work on a bit of a tricky part, and that's going to be our promote function. So let's say local function promote. So we want to make our own function here called promote. We're going to put brackets, and then we're going to say player, and then we're going to say past rank. Now, when this function is fired, we want to get the player and we want to get the rank that they'll get promoted to. So now what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to make a URL that Roblox can call to our web server so we can interact with the bot. So we're going to have to say, actually, there's something we need to do first. Since we don't want people who are already at a high rank to get promoted or to get demoted any sort of way, even though they're already on that rank. So just to add a failsafe, we're going to say if player get rank in group. So the player that was passed over in the function, we're going to get their rank in the group, and then we're going to put group ID inside of here. And then we're going to say if that is smaller to past rank, then continue. Now we're going to form our URL that we want to call our web server with. So we're going to say local full URL equals app URL, and now we'll have to do a bit of concatenation here, so pay attention. We're going to say dot dot, so we're concatenating it with question mark user underscore name equals. then .player.name, so we're getting the player's name, then concatenate that once more with and key equals, then we're going to concatenate that once more with API key, so we're all making this a giant string, and then we're going to say and group ID equals, so make sure you use that and symbol, which is shift and 7. If you can't get that symbol, just copy and paste the code, which can be found in the description down below, equals, then we're going to concatenate it with the group ID, and then we're going to say ... and then once again we're going to make a new string, and we're going to say and roll underscore number equals, and then ... past rank. So this giant long line we've put will all be calling our server. What we've written is basically a giant string that our server can be called with. So now let's say local response. So what we get back from the server will be HTTP service, which we defined above, get async, so that will be a get request, and then we're going to put URL or full URL. Now that we've done that, we're going to say local data equals HTTP service JSON decode response, so we can use this for debugging, and then we're going to say you got promoted by saying player promotion success via client, and then we're going to put in here player. So now this big chunk of code, it sends a request, it gets all the data back, and then it fires our remote event we defined below here. So now all we need to do is detect when the player reaches the right amount of points to get promoted, and we can do this with just a few lines of code. So let's drop 2 lines or 3 just to make it look neater, and then we're going to say game.players.player added. So when a player joins, then connect function player, so we're going to get the player that joined. Then we're going to say local player underscore leader stats equal, now pay attention here, player, so the player that joined, wait for child, leader stats folder, and then we're going to say .points. Now remember how we set up here, points, you might have cash, money, etc. You'll need to put, instead of points, you need to put cash if your money was cash, or if your value was dogs, let's just say out randomly, you say .dogs, but since I'm using .points, you just set that to .points. Then we're going to drop a line, and now we're going to say player or underscore leader stats changed, make sure that's a capital, connect function, then close this off, and now we're going to have to use a for loop. So for I in v in I pairs points required, we're now going to for loop for the table we just created, do, and now we're going to say if v is equal, so if this number on the right hand side is equivalent to our player leader stats dot value, then we can promote the player that we defined up here when they joined, and the rank, which is the one on the left hand side. And that is literally it. So we can now test this code. I'm going to try it, but since I'm the owner of the group, it won't work, but we can see if it won't work. We just want to see if there are any bugs, and let's just give this a quick test, and if it gives what we want it to give, then we have succeeded. Okay, we're loading in. Now I'm just going to wait for this to get to 60, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, we're now closing on the 60 points, and if it gives us the error that we want it to give, it means the system has worked. So let's just look in server. Let's just give it a second to interact. Okay, we haven't got the error we wanted to get, so let's investigate and see what happened here. Okay, so I think I know what happened here. So for this to work, we need to have a published game. So let's just call this game testing off point system. Then let's publish it to Roblox. Allow HTTP requests and enable studio access to API services. Now, keep in mind that this also isn't working because it has a failsafe. So it means our system is working, and this should all be working how it should be. If you have any issues, make sure that you try copying and pasting the script in from down below and see if that works. And if you still continue to have issues, feel free to go to our website, forms.thecookie.dev, go over to scripting support by just making a new account, clicking the new post in the right, and then just making a scripting support post, making a title, and telling us what's up. Apart from that, that's all from me. Happy scripting, and I'm out. Bye bye, and thank you for tuning in.